In July 2011, my brother and I found ourselves on an incredibly remote beach. The wind absolutely howling, blowing a gale. We were looking at 150 kilos of metal in front of us, wondering what on earth are we doing? Total madness. 2 months previous, we decided we wanted to go windsurfing in the windiest part of the world at that time of year, northeast coast of Brazil. However, upon researching, we realized the nearest airport is 1,000 kilometers away. Now, most people might get a Jeep for that kind of distance, but we wanted to do something a little bit different. I saw a video on YouTube that showed buggies with no seatbelts, with no brakes, powered by two massive kites flying up and down sand dunes with apparent ease. I said, that is what we're going to do. That looks amazing. Easy. So he set about trying to find two of those contraptions, minus the dog. We spoke to one of the world's most notable kite brands. We said we wanted to travel 1,000 kilometers by kite. And this, I still remember the conversation. We asked for his thoughts, and he said, essentially, he thought we were mad. Not only would this be a world record for the longest distance traveled by kite on land unsupported, but to put it into context, he said, I was on crutches at the time from a mountain bike accident. We didn't speak Portuguese. We had no support at all. He said, to put it in context, this would be like learning to swim by swimming the channel. He said you absolutely need to be a pro at the sport, and at the very least, you need to have support to carry your excess food, your water, your spare equipment, and a medic. He said, absolutely not going to help you kill yourselves. I'm out. But he planted a seed. It'll be a world record. We've got to do this. Poor parents. So we didn't, to be honest, we didn't believe their exaggerations. Surely it was an exaggeration. If we could teach ourselves to kite 1 kilometer, then absolutely we can do 1,000 kilometers. So we spoke to other kite brands. We luckily got sponsorship for all the equipment. We raised money for charity, and we went for it, despite various protestations from our poor parents and various experts. So, having negotiated excess baggage at Heathrow Airport, you try and get 150 kilos of bags from London to Brazil on a £20 budget. We arrived on this beach in Brazil, the wind absolutely howling. Attached by harness to two enormous kites, and we started to teach ourselves to kite buggy. Only, didn't see this bit coming, did you? It wasn't quite as easy as we'd hoped. We frequently had to pull these 75-kilo buggies 30 miles a day up sand dune, through mangrove swamp, and then we ran out of food. And I lost 8 kilos of body weight in just 2 weeks. And we were in real difficulty. We were in real difficulty of not even reaching halfway. Until we met some locals. And these locals showed us various wild fruits that we could find along the coastline and keep us going. And these fruits tasted absolutely amazing. Probably because I was so hungry. But they tasted fantastic. Yet they were also super healthy. And this got us thinking. Upon return home, I became fascinated with the idea of using superfoods to make indulgent food good for you without sacrificing taste. It made me realize there's 2 fundamental reasons for food. 2 reasons we eat food. There's health, nutrition, fuel, and indulgence, enjoyment, socializing. Yet if you go to any supermarket today, generally speaking, food only satisfies one of those principles or the other. It's either healthy or it's indulgent. Our food today is utterly broken. Yet we can still continue to eat it. Let me put it another way. A car has 2 fundamental principles: moving from A to B comfortably and safely. Would you ever buy a car that didn't move or wasn't comfortable? No. So why do we continue to buy food? I wanted to change that, starting with ice cream. And I'm pleased to say it took me 2.5 years, But eventually I created what I believe to be the world's healthiest dairy ice cream, and we launched in October 2014. But here's the thing, here's the point of this. With both the Brazil expedition and the ice cream, experts told us it couldn't be done. It wasn't possible. Don't bother, we've tried. Finish. So how did two complete amateurs, who'd never done anything like this before, manage to achieve something that others had previously thought not possible? It's because rules are easier to break when you don't know they exist. Rules are easier to break when you don't know they exist. Now, that's not to say that knowledge isn't important. Not at all. Absolutely not. But just don't be weighed down by its importance. Don't overestimate it. It's natural to assume experience is valuable in business. The longer you're in an industry for, the more insightful you become, the more brilliant you are at seeing opportunities surrounding you. Yet, how is it then that some of the most innovative companies today have no experience in their field? Eat Big Fish talk about intelligent naivety. Now, we have all experienced intelligent naivety. Think back to those first few days in a new job. In those first few days, you ask some of the most insightful questions. You more often than not find the most obvious solutions. Yet over time, that gets knocked out of us. Over time, the sense of possibilities is reduced. In other words, you learn the rules. Science links experience to empiricism, evolving our understanding based on what we experience in the world around us. Yet in business, that seems to be both a blessing and a curse. Relying solely on experience is what prevents us from seeing the possibilities around us. Experts get it wrong. Einstein, he said that we would never, ever be able to harness the power of nuclear energy. Ken Olsen, the chairman of DEC, said that in 1977 that we would never want a PC in each of our homes. Kodak, they invented the digital camera, yet they didn't launch it because they didn't want to harm their film business. That's what made them go bankrupt. Experts are experts for things that have happened, not necessarily things that will happen. The founder of Vitamin Water had no experience in soft drinks, yet sold his company for $4.1 billion to Coke. James Dyson trained in furniture design, yet reinvented the vacuum cleaner. Dan Strimpton, the co-founder of Peppersmith, was assured by experts there is no way to create natural ingredients for chewing gum, yet he defied all experts and found them. Here's two reasons why I believe these worked. All of these founders didn't know how hard it was going to be to achieve their objective, and probably wouldn't have tried if they did know. But more importantly, they didn't know what factors were previously thought immovable, so they just moved them. I.e., they didn't know the rules. As more talented but naive entrepreneurs come and disrupt big industries, it becomes clear direct experience doesn't always serve us well. Even lateral thinking puzzles, even they're harder with direct experience. Take the elevator puzzle. A man lives on the 10th floor building. Every day he gets the lift down to the ground floor, goes to work, comes back, gets the lift up just to the 7th floor again, and walks the rest of the way. But he hates walking. So why does he do it? Ask a lift manufacturer, a psychologist, a building planner, and they might really struggle to answer the question. But ask a child or a layman, and they might get it much easier. The answer's laughably obvious, although it took me a while to get it. He was too short to reach the 10th button. We obviously don't want to and can't forget our knowledge. So the real question is, how do we prevent being shackled by our own experience? As experts that can't and don't want to unlearn the rules, how do you continue to innovate once you've learnt them? Dee Hock, the founder of Visa, said, the challenge isn't how to get new innovative thoughts into your mind, but how to get the old ones out. I.e., once you've learnt the rules, how do you continue to innovate? Here's my suggestion, 2 steps. Firstly, start at that ideal endpoint. Good innovation doesn't come about through asking people what they want, but asking what problems do they have. A surefire way of breaking the rules is by starting at that idealistic, very idealistic endpoint. And then that will help you get into the all-important child's mindset. Creativity is suppressed by the rules of possibility. Children don't think of a rule and then shoot it down. There are no rules. Everything is possible. Create that idealistic endpoint first. Second, employ free thinking. In the 17th century, free thinking became popular as a philosophy which forms conclusions through logic and reason rather than authority and tradition. Free thinkers don't take what other people tell them. They form their own opinions. In the 17th century, free thinking was formed in response to religion. But I believe today, free thinking has a real part to play in innovation. Free thinking is absolutely crucial if we're going to change the world through innovation. Free thinking will ensure your innovation is revolution rather than simply evolution. So, strip your mind of the rules by starting at that idealistic endpoint. What would it look like if you started again from scratch today? Then employ free thinking as you work backwards to understand, is that rule in place through logic and reason, or simply authority, tradition, and other dogma? Don't be trapped by dogma, the result of other people's thinking. They might be wrong. Rules are constantly changing as new innovations launch around us. 12 months after launching Oppo, we hit difficulty. We'd worked really hard. We created a brilliant product. We launched into lots of retailers. We had a fantastic team. We started to learn the rules of what was going to create a really disruptive company. Yet over time, we stopped being disruptive. It was learning these rules that prevented us from innovating. This is a common problem. We were a little David, but trying to act like a big Goliath. And it's a common problem. Nest, the smart home company, they were recently acquired by Google for $3.2 billion. They've had £500 million per year in budget. They've quadrupled their workforce, yet, not quite to plan, they haven't launched a single new innovation. At Oppo, we realized that it was just this that was our problem. Learning the rules prevented us from breaking them and prevented us from innovating. We now apply those above 2 steps, and it works. So, if you're a subject expert, if you want to learn the rules, if you've learnt the rules, but you want to innovate, think freely by starting at that idealistic endpoint. Work backwards, applying free thinking as you go to understand, is that rule in place through logic and reason, or simply authority and tradition? Be as innovative every day as you were in those first few days in a new job. Have experience. Yet think freely, without constraint, like a layman. Thank you.